The first season of Wistoria Wand and Sword came with some action-packed fights, but the best fights by far, in my opinion, were fights dedicated to showing the crazy skills of our magicless protag, Will Surfort. Although Will spent years at Regard Magical Academy being considered an afterthought to his teachers and peers, all that changes as Will's true nature begins to shine through. With that, let's check out Will's top 5 fights of Season 1, proving that true power comes from perseverance. The first battle on this list is Will versus the Evil Sentinel. This is the first and most important battle for us to see because this is the first time that Will's true strength is revealed to us. As Will is in the dungeon alone, fighting monsters to obtain school credits, he comes across 3 of his classmates who have been attacked by an evil sentinel. Will is initially hesitant to jump into the fight, not because he doubted his skills, but because these particular students have tortured him for years. But at the end of the day, Will, being the kind-hearted and caring person that he is, chooses to protect his classmates, defeating a monster that even they, with all of their magic, could not defeat. Will proves to us in this moment that he not only has strength of will, but strength of character. Seeing Will step forward to help, even when he really didn't have to, was the first defining moment that had me wanting more of this show. Second on the list, we have Will versus Professor Edward Serfens. Professor Edward was the first professor we got to see up close show any level of malice towards Will. Edward would parade Will in front of the class, making it clear to all of his students that he found Will to be magicless and worthless to him. Professor Edward, being as petty as possible, even goes to the headmistress to attempt to get Will expelled from the school. Headmistress Cauldron gives Professor Edward a chance to test Will, and it is during this test that we get to see the true magic happen. Professor Edward, who was previously in consideration for the role of Magia Vander, the height of what a mage can become, attacks Will relentlessly, knowing that if Will falters even for a second, he will fail the test and be expelled. Yet even with his entire future on the line, Will is undaunted. Will takes a few hits from Professor Edward, but finds his footing, blocking until he can make his way to Edward, and with one small slash, Will manages to cut Professor Edward's cheek and secure his own victory. This fight was top tier. After all of the painful remarks and horrible treatment towards Will, I was excited to see Edward brought down a peg. Not only that, but whether Edward wanted to believe in Will or not at this point, he would not be able to deny Will's ability with a sword and as a fighter. Number 3 on the list of Will Surfort's top 5 fights is Will versus the Frost Rex. Will's childhood friend that grew up with him in an orphanage and who is a current Magia Vander, Alfaria, has put out an official request to the students at Regard Magical Academy to harvest magical items or materials from the dungeon. As Will journeys into the dungeon to gather materials on Elfie's behalf, he comes across a student named Iris being attacked by a Frost Rex. Will, without hesitation, springs in to help. Using tools that were provided to him by his roommate Rosti, who happens to be an artificer, Will attacks the Frost Rex. The monster cannot keep up with Will's speed or his familiarity with fighting monsters such as these, and with a final spark, Will decimates the Frost Rex, seemingly barely considering it a challenge. This fight stands out because it is the first fight that we get to see Will using artificer tools to totally overwhelm a monster. Will's speed and resourcefulness, along with his firm understanding of the monster he is fighting, made this a fight to remember. Coming in 4th on our list of absolutely amazing over-the-top fights brought to you by Will Surfort, we have Will versus Julius. This has to be one of the most, if not the most satisfying fight of the season. I honestly wish I could see it for the first time all over again. This battle came about when Julius, an ice wielder and one of the more aggravating characters on the show, was out for a night on the town with his friends and made his way to Gina's tavern where Will works. Gina and most of her patrons are dwarves. Upon entering the tavern, Julius and his friends make it a point to make fun of and talk down to the dwarves, going so far as to kick food off of their table. Will, enraged and disgusted by the utter disrespect, accepts Julius's proposed battle at the Grand Magic Festival so that he can get Julius to apologize to and preserve the dignity of the dwarves. Both on three-man teams, Julius and Will easily make their way to the final battleground of their event. Will enters the stadium alone while Julius still has his two teammates with him. And as the three attack Will begins to dodge before effortlessly taking out both of Julius's teammates with one strike. Will then proceeds to methodically tear down every magic skill that Julius believed made him great. Will high-key dog walk Julius from end to end of that stadium, making it clear that nothing that Julius throws at him can stop him. And just when you think we're at the peak of the action, Will finally gets his hands on Julius and punches him in the face so hard that they slow-mo it and show it from 3 different angles. It was great. I don't think anyone deserved it more. Watching Julius scared for that split second before Will's fist connects was everything. And to get to see how dedicated Will is to not only the people that matter to him, but to his convictions to protect them as well, only furthered to deepen my understanding of this character and who he's growing to be. And last, but certainly not least on our list of Will Surfort fights is the battle versus the evil Grand Duke. This fight originally started with Will and his whole team being attacked by the Grand Duke and thrust onto the 11th floor, a floor well beyond their skill levels. When the team finally finds their way back to one another on the 11th floor, they're once again attacked by Duke, a 270 credit monster that should be on the 25th floor of the dungeon. The team starts out working together, trying different approaches and the strongest spells in their arsenals to take Duke down, but nothing works. Duke is not only strong, but he is shielded by a spell, making it impossible for their magic to have any devastating impact. And just as hope starts fading in everyone's eyes, Will is thrown a crystal, and with this crystal and a new drive welling up to combine wand and sword, Will calls out to Scion, who sends fire magic towards Will. And with Will appearing to take the fire into his sword, with one mighty slash, Will cuts the evil Grand Duke in half, saving his team and shocking everyone seeing this. This battle was fantastic. Although Will's team was involved, I do still consider this a Will Surfort fight, mainly because the only person that managed to cause the evil Grand Duke any level of damage was Will. His team was completely down for the count, and Will stepped up in a big way to make sure everyone survived. Although Will's power against the evil Grand Duke is still yet to be understood, it is still Will who used it to save everyone's lives. Taking a look back, Will's strength and growth throughout this first season is really setting him up to be even more special than I expected him to be. I originally thought that Will would be a sword to stand as a protector for Elfie in the realm, but something very different seems to be transpiring here. I'm gonna go deeper into what I believe might be happening in a later video, but what do you think? What's your favorite fight from the first season? How do you think Will's powers will grow? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all next week.